I'm gonna bring in. I'm gonna bring in this morning. I'm gonna bring in Andy. He runs NFL Outdated, good YouTube channel. He is a Bears guy. That's important here. But also, I like, and I've been on your show, but I like the work that you do. I like he does a Freezing for the NFC North podcast, and it's 4 people. It's you to cover the Bears, and then a Lions person, a Vikings person, a Packers person, and I've happily been that Packers guy. And, I see your stuff. I watch from time to time. I got tagged by you the other day because you guys must have been having a conversation about, the Packers and what it was going to look like. Obviously, this is a different season for us. And I don't know who on your show said the 4 or 5 wins. If it was you, we're fighting. Yeah, we're fighting. What I don't understand, Andy, is the Packers – They go from Aaron Rodgers, who I think was bad last year or mediocre, to Jordan Love, who we don't know about. And I feel like all of a sudden, like, Rodgers is not worth that many wins to me. I still think they have a good team. So you win 4 or 5. Have you been bullied into thinking more, or where are you at with a Bears fan? And this is tinted. So where are you at with what you see from the Packers? And I'd like to tell you what I see with the Bears later as well.
Let's do it. Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me on. Always love your stuff on the radio and here as well. So, I had a chance. We always do go through the records, and every year, after schedule release, happens, and I do have to say that last year this time, and I have the clip to prove it on my podcast, I said the Packers would win 8 games, and everyone called me crazy, but I thought just with the looking at it logically, so I am a Bears fan, and maybe it is a little bit tinted, but I also like to look at football things and just kind of logically look at things, right? And take, the whole fandom. Like, I'm not someone that says, your team sucks and they're horrible. I like to kind of look at all the facts and everything like that.
Okay,
right?
So we're both fans, because I feel like I can do that too.
Yeah.
I feel like I can, except for the Vikings. I despise them more than anything. I will never be able to rationally give takes on the Vikings. Bears and Lions, yes. Vikings, never.
I lived in Minnesota for 10 years, so I totally get that. That horn is ridiculous. But yeah, so I kind of looked at this and this year, right? And you look at the Packers, and if you take the names out of the game one, right? If you take it, you have a third-year quarterback who has started. He has proven he can move the chains down the and move the ball down the field for touchdowns. He's going into having his second year with his offensive coordinator and new coaching staff. He's at home versus a quarterback who is in his second start. Just proving what he can do to his team. And I know, so it's interesting. I mean, you said, Rodgers, obviously Rodgers did not have a Rodgers like year last year. But I think the biggest thing to look at it is, and even as a Bears fan, I knew this, you have Rodgers, you go into Soldier Field, you go in anywhere, and you go with your teammates in that huddle. I mean, you have that, he has that presence, and you have that feeling that you're going to win. Now, we talk about, Jordan Love, he could be good. I'm going to admit he could be good, right? But week 1, game 1, I think he has to prove it to his teammates that he can do that. You go into that and that makes a difference. I mean, obviously, I haven't played high level football, but you listen to football players long enough and it makes a difference. Are they going to, run their how are they going to run the routes? How are they going to trust where the ball is going to be? So when I look at week 1, it's hard for me to say the Packers are going to win that. Right. And so I kind of went through all, the schedule and, just game by game, and you look at it, and just with the experience of Love and obviously, then also look in the defense. And I mean, it's really hard to kind of, for me to look at a lot of wins, even like, I'm one that likes Denver this year. And that's going to be a tough game.
Okay. Then everything you just said was irrelevant, because Denver, I'm not.
Well, last year, absolutely.
I don't care, Sean Payton or not.
Yes, I agree. Well, here's the thing that
I'm like, okay, I'm buying into what Andy's saying. And then he's like, I like Denver. I'm like, what am I doing? Why did I have this guy on?
well, Denver, so the Packers play at Denver, right?
Oh, they're going to win that game. Oh, no. I think I put they're going to lose that game.
Yeah, at Denver. I mean, Denver's defense is no joke, right? And I'm not someone who likes Russell Wilson, but you look at some of these teams and you look at what they have, and you stack them up against the Packers. And I know it's hard, for Packers fans to kind of look at a season and say, okay, well, we're not going to have a good season. But I looked at last year, this season, this time last year, I looked at the Bears schedule and I was honest about my roster. And I thought it was going to be a 4 or 5 win team. I mean, now we ended up being a 3-win team. And obviously we'll get into the Bears stuff later, but you look at some of these things and just kind of being honest with the roster and your GM, they've gone younger. You got, younger players.
Well, yeah, very young. Yeah.
And I think that plays a factor into it too. And, like I said, I mean, Jordan Love could be good, but it's going to be up and down and, not week 1 on the road in a rivalry game. Now, I have to admit, if it happens, if Love goes into Soldier Field and beats the Bears, beats Fields, that goes a huge, a long way for him to prove it. But, it's just hard for me to look at that and, logically and, taking the fandom out of it, yes, I'd love for the Bears to win. Even last year, like I knew it was about Fields development. And I didn't care if the Bears won any games as long as they beat the Packers both times, right? And I kind of got in the middle of the game. I was like, I want them to win. And then I kind of reminded, okay, well, this is development year. You look at the roster, and it just was not built. Now the Bears have already added linebackers. They've added offensive linemen. They've added DJ Moore. And I want to get your take maybe on DJ Moore. I'm actually going to go on Friday night. I'm talking to a guy who's on Fox Sports in Charlotte. I talked to him last year about DJ Moore and what his thoughts were. I had a Packer fan on Friday tell me he was a mid-tier wide receiver. And I'm just like, to me, that has to be a fan take because, yes, as a Packer fan, you don't want to see the Bears having good players. But DJ Moore is a top-level talent. Now,
DJ Moore is going to be like what you guys thought you were getting in Chase Claypool, only better. I looked at that trade and I thought it was pretty average or pretty even, like with what the teams needed. And then when I saw DJ Moore was a part of it, I was like, oh, I mean, okay, that's. So I'm always been very high on DJ Moore from a fantasy perspective. He can be very up and down. From a football perspective, I've been high on that. I think that when I was, win-lossing this thing, I did it with one of my guys, and I said I came up with 10 wins. Now, I think more or less, I think that 10 wins is the absolute ceiling for the Packers, and I think the floor is around 7. I still think that they're going to be a good enough team where they're not going to lose 7. They're going to lose double-digit games. I don't think so. Now, a lot of it depends on Jordan Love. I understand the roster's younger, and maybe things go haywire. First of all, you should know that I automatically did not care or matter. I just gave us a win against every team from the NFC South.
Yeah,
because they suck.
Yeah.
So there's 4 right there. And that goes for everybody in the North. I did, just looking at what I did early on, and again, there's plenty of time for this to change, but I hate that the Packers are playing the Bears week 1. I think the Packers do lose that game. And then what's going to happen is the takes are going to be so stupid. If Love wins, the dumbest overplay joke is the Wikipedia stuff. Owned by bleh, and then it's going to be, is there taxes on the transferring of ownership to Rodgers and Love? That's going to be stupid. If the Bears win, then all of a sudden Fields is going to be looked at like he's a god, and he like the curse is over. And I don't like that. So I don't like that they're playing right away because the hot takes are going to be, I think if these guys are the quarterbacks for the next 5 years, I think that there's going to be one quarterback that wins 6 times and the other one's 4. I don't know who that one's going to be. I think there's some great battles to be had with Love and Fields. The Packers then have the Falcons, NFC North, they suck. Saints, they suck. Lions, I think, will start hot. They might go to Vegas and trip up. It could be a tough start, but ultimately, I think they figure things out later. And maybe it's 7, maybe it's 6.
Can we go back?
4 or 5 with that is so. I'm just so insulted by it. And what I imagine, because then I didn't go watch that episode because I couldn't bear to see it. But I imagine is the 3 NFC North people, not Packers, just being like, yeah, it's finally here. The Packers finally suck. And it's like, it's cool. Well, calm down a little bit.
So I go back to, that Atlanta game. A question I'd have for you is, so I do worry a little bit about how good the Packers defense could be. They actually could be good. Obviously, they've been up and down. We were actually talking about Atlanta, and the guy that was on, he actually wrote an article about the Lions, and he writes for one of the websites, but he talked about the Atlanta and how good the running game is going to be. Do you think the Packers defense stacks up well against a team that runs the ball well?
Now, I'm like not willing to budge on my NFC South, but yes, Atlanta could beat us. I mean, the way that they run the football and are going to run the football. Yeah, the defense needs to be better. And I think that, I can argue with you on 4 or 5 wins. I still, that is so, it's like, it's very insulting to even think we could only win 4 or 5 games. If we won 6, okay, I think Rodgers went 6-10 his first year. And that's the other thing about all this. Jordan Love's going to be viewed as like the whole thing around the Packers right now. And it's not just, it's Packer fans.
Mm-hmm.
We had 30 good years of quarterback play.
Mm-hmm. No, great. I'd say great.
And so now what everybody thinks is it's going to be 30 bad years of quarterback play. And I think that is so ridiculous. And I don't know that Jordan Love I don't think he's going to be bad. My hot take was, if he was bad, Rodgers would have showed us he was bad. He was 4-8. He was hurt. He could have sat down and said, like, let's watch Jordan Love then. And then you'll see you need me back.
What about Rodgers said that he would do that? I feel like Rodgers is the ultimate, he's going to do things his way. Like, I feel like Rodgers is going to have an amazing year this year because he has, that in him. Like, he's like, well, screw you, you don't want me.
And that's going to piss me off because where was that last year? Where was that against the Lions, week 18, when you were going to achieve what everyone thought was impossible, and then you're throwing some of the worst interceptions I've ever seen him throw in that game. Multiple. And I went to that stupid game. That was the one Lambeau game I went to last year, and I was really mad about that.
So I don't know if you want to do this. So obviously, 7-10, how are the Packers getting there? That would be my question. Like, how are they getting there? Obviously, you said the South, right? I mean, because you look at, and you think they're going to beat Denver, but that's in Denver. Like, you just kind of logically, I mean,
I think the end of the season presents some opportunities for them. If Love kind of figures things out, the Giants, I don't know what they're going to be like. That I think still is a winnable game. Buccaneers come here. We go to Carolina. Vikings and Bears maybe get one of those. The Steelers, I think they go into Pittsburgh and win. I think there's the Rams. There's at least the over-under, I think, is 7.5. I just don't see them losing less than 7. I mean, and this is a big test too, because I'll tell you, we don't know, like, one guy I haven't mentioned yet is Matt LaFleur, because, he had 13, and then last year, we don't know if he's a good coach. No, I don't know if he does. And Matt LaFleur's got this disease where he, like, tries to make you think he's not a bad coach, because every time he loses, he's like, oh, I didn't know how to do that. Or it's like, oh, I'm learning. I didn't. Like, yes, it's nice when a coach takes blame, but also relax, dude, because you're kind of convincing us that you're not a good coach. Let's get like 5 or 6 weeks into the season before all you NFC North knuckleheads start to think that, like, the dog days are here. Okay, that's all I'm asking.
I get it. Well, I mean, I try not to be too knucklehead, but that was my first foray into that area because my one of my Packer co-hosts came on later on in the episode, and he asked me if I was on drugs. So he definitely called me out. But I think the biggest thing is, I mean, obviously Love, but I look at and I hear from a lot of Packer fans too saying, well, the running game, right? And I think the running game, you look at that, if they are to have a good start early on, I think they're going to have to obviously rely on the running game a lot. But then my question to that then is, and you've watched football enough too, like if you have a good running game, but you don't have a quarterback that can complete a deep ball, then the defense doesn't have to, doesn't have to respect that. So that would be my question to that. I mean, but if the Packers are to have 7 to 10 wins, whatever, it would be on the running game as Love and LaFleur, learn to kind of work together.
I'm not going to win-loss the schedule and then say 10 and then take it to the bank. Okay. I'm not going to stake anything on that. That's me getting, excited about what could be. I think that 7 is a very reasonable number. And then do you think they're going to win 7? Do you think they're going to win 8? I know it's going to be tough. And, you're starting with a new guy. I know it's going to be tough. I'd like to reiterate that when I saw 4, I was fucking mad.
I figured where I saw that. So here's a question I have for you on that then. So would you rather have 7 to 10 wins and maybe Love has an average season, right? Maybe, and you're still not sold on him, right? Or have 3-4 wins and be up in the mix for a Caleb Williams or the guy out of North Carolina to actually get that solved, because that would scare me as a Bears fan. Because I do like Watson, I do like Dobbs, I do like the new guy that they got out of Michigan State. Pair him with a young quarterback that can, is dynamic. That would scare me. So I mean, what would your thoughts be on that?
I think some Packer fans that I've talked to are in the realm of, okay, if it gets bad, then yes, then we can move on and get a higher pick. I can't be thinking about that right now. There's a roadblock in my brain on that thought. I want it to be Jordan Love. I hated the pick, absolutely hated it. I think it might have cost them a Super Bowl one way or the other. I really hated the pick, and I'm nothing but supportive and want him to succeed. And I think the tools, he's had 3 years now. This is we only see this in Green Bay. And if it works again, well, then they got to draft guys and sit them for 3 years forever. You're more likely to get struck by lightning after you've been struck by lightning, I will say. Okay. I
tell you, if it works that way, all of us Bears fans will be pissed, right? Actually, everybody in the NFL will be pissed. But, I always, go back on that comment. Obviously, different front office, different coaching staff, and, different player. So, we'll see. I just think, Rodgers has that jag in him where he has that chip, I was drafted late, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. And we'll see if Love has that. I feel like, some quarterbacks kind of need that edge to just, be great.
I really wish, especially since they didn't make the playoffs, that Love would have had 5 weeks to play.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
To win and then follow that up, to lose and see how you bounce back. And I think that, they were kind of robbed of that a little bit, and I'm going to transition to your shitty team. But I didn't understand. I cannot understand what the Bears have been doing. So I like Justin Fields a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like him a lot. I thought he should have been absolutely the number 2 pick. Mm-hmm. But then the Jets wanted Zach Wilson for some reason. And they were stuck on it. And that was so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Justin Fields. And then the Bears got him. I said, oh, boy. Nagy and Pace were there.
Mm-hmm.
They knew they were going to get fired at the end of the year. They sucked.
Mm-hmm.
So they should have just attached themselves to Fields and said, this is you get him but you get us. We're developing this guy. And then they're starting Andy Dalton and they're like, no. You go all in on Fields. And then even last year, when the season gets away from them or whatever, I still feel like they allowed, because everybody knows that Fields can run the football.
Mm-hmm.
There was that game where the Bears lost to Miami by like a field goal.
I was
but
at that game.
Yeah,
Yep.
Fields was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was acting like, okay, we lost, but we know that we have a guy. And then I don't think I would have almost said, Justin, you're running 5 times a game tops. We need you to throw. And I would have done that. Just to finish my thoughts on the Bears, somebody asked me, are the Bears this year's Jaguars, where they're going to come? I say no, but I say next year they could be. I think the NFC North is going to be a race to 9 wins. And I'm going to go with the Lions at this point. This is just a bad year for everybody. But I think what you'll see is the division get better again. And I think the Bears can easily pick off a title or two. I do like what they're doing, but I think it's a slower burn. So that's where I'm coming from with the Bears. So I'm not going to shit on the Bears, but I don't know what did you win-loss the Bears at? 10 probably?
Well, first of all, yes, I agree. It's a slower burn, and that's a good thing. I think
you probably took the Bears to win the Super Bowl.
No, but it's
in one season.
It's a slower burn because I think that's when you're building it right. That's what you need to do, and you have, and you've covered, long enough the Bears and their front office is horrible for years, and even going back to Ryan Pace when he was drafting Mitch Trubisky. In the draft room, he was asking everybody around. He said, you had him the best quarterback. He was asking people like, this is the GM. So now they've got someone in there that actually knows football, played with Matt Ryan and everything like that. And so, but you look at it like he's putting pieces in place. Darnell Wright, I was at the draft and was excited, for that Darnell Wright pick, and Nate Davis guard. So they're starting to build slow. Have they done enough? No. But I looked at the schedule and, I was kind of, thinking maybe 8 to 10 wins. And I actually ended up in on 10 wins. Cause then I even went back. Obviously you look at what they've done defensively as well. I like what they've done defensively. They need to continue to grow there, but I went back last year and they were in, obviously they won 3 games, but they were in 6 to 7 more. Obviously they almost beat the Packers, with Fields alone. I mean, they lost by 9 points.
Almost pretty close.
So I'm good with that. They showed a lot of promise, and that was, without DJ Moore. So you add this and so I went, 9-10 wins, and I'm not one of those crazy fans who's going to be like, 16-1 Super Bowl. We're just not there. Like, I'm targeting 2024. Obviously Fields needs to continue to grow, but he did, complete some deep passes and throw a lot of, show a lot of promise. There's a lot of things he needs to get better at, but I just think, you have the Jalen Hurts thing, right? He improved with AJ Brown. I think DJ Moore is going to be that to Justin Fields. I don't think Justin Fields will be in the MVP conversation, but the team will be better. 10 wins is very reasonable for the Bears this year.
Well, if Fields makes that leap, yeah. So a lot of this is on Field. Let me. How about this? I'm going to win-loss for you right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
I've never looked at the Bears schedule yet. I will win-loss the Bears. You will get the same benefit of the NFC South that I gave the Packers. So you're already 4-0. You will also beat the Packers week 1, unfortunately, but lose to them in week 18. So you're 5-1. All right, let's see what else is there. Lose to Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
I got to start from scratch. Okay. Beat Green Bay.
Go
to Tampa. You can win that. Lose to Kansas City. Denver comes. You can beat them.
I actually picked Denver to win, but maybe I lost credibility.
What'd you do with Washington? Because I'm going to take you to lose on a short week.
Oh, I picked the Bears to beat Washington. Sam Howell? Really? You trust Sam Howell?
Yeah, short week.
Okay.
Minnesota, I'll give you a win.
Mm-hmm.
Vegas, I'll give you a win. At LA, I'll give you a loss.
Mm-hmm.
win against New Orleans, win against Carolina. I'm up to 7. We're not even at Thanksgiving.
So
At Detroit, go ahead.
I was going to say, I picked the Bears to lose at New Orleans because I think defensively, and it's at New Orleans. I mean, we'll see if we get the good or bad Derek Carr, but yeah. So 7, keep going.
All right. At Detroit, at Minnesota. Even if I say you lose both of those, you beat Detroit, you beat Arizona. God.
Here
this is like a 9-win team minimum. What's the win total in Vegas?
I think it was 7-9, something.
Oh, I gotta go bet that.
So I'm thinking the Bears split with Detroit. But
I think it's fair with these NFC North teams to split.
But with Minnesota, the Bears almost beat Minnesota. With Fields alone, if my Iowa guy Amir Smith-Marset didn't have the ball like torn out of his hands, Fields would have driven down and had them in position to win that game. But yeah, they almost beat Detroit. At home, 1 point loss,
7.5. Okay, the Packers at 7. Just based on the schedules, the Packers at 7.5 and the Bears at 7.5. Man, if I put $100 down, I'm gonna put it on the Bears. Fuck, what's happening to me?
I was say, are you a whole new Bart?
No, I'm still the same old son of a bitch I've always been, but the Bears. Fuck. Well, and you get to play the shittier teams like Arizona.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I mean, Cleveland at Cleveland's going to be tough. I think I have the Bears losing to Cleveland. I think Deshaun Watson's going to be improved. Atlanta, I wasn't sure on that one either for the Bears because obviously the Bears defensive line needs to be improved. Their pass rush has been horrible. That's the one thing I would worry about the Packers versus the Bears. If the Packers just ran the ball down the Bears' throat, I think the Packers could control it. And Atlanta could do that as well. But I just think, with the overall quarterback play, I mean, I'm not picking Desmond Ridder, over Justin Fields. I just, and as far as the other playmakers, and we don't know what the tight end is going to be in Atlanta again, so.
Of every over, I'm looking at every team's over under and trying to see what I like better than the Bears. I would say I like the Seahawks over 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Steelers over 8.5. And I think the Bears are a top. I think I'm gonna go bet that.
So you do
That's
like
not how I plan this to go.
So do you like the Steelers over 8.5?
Yeah, I do. If they won 9 wins if they won 9 games last year, I think Kenny Pickett's gonna ascend and be good too.
I agree. I like George Pickens. That's why I look too. I think against similar opponents. I mean, at Green Bay at Pittsburgh. I mean, that could be tough. I mean, obviously, I think you like Jair, right? Alexander. I mean, is he shutting down George Pickens?
I don't like when Jair celebrates when they're down 21-3.
Mm-hmm.
I have to like Jair. That's my son. My brother has bought jerseys for my son. He's 3. He's gonna be 4. He bought a Devontae.
Mm-hmm.
Gone. Then he bought a Rodgers. Oops. Then he bought Jair. So I need Jair to work. All right, I got 3 quickies for you.
Mm-hmm.
A Super Bowl prediction that is not Kansas City or Philly. You can't use those teams.
Well, all right. So looking in the
or the Bears.
Oh yeah, the Bears aren't there. So looking in the NFC. All right, let's go ahead and pull up teams. So obviously, you look at the Eagles are there. I mean, it is tough. I mean, for teams to repeat. But you look at teams that could surprise. And a team, and you're probably not a fan of, but a team that's always been right there, regardless of their quarterback situation, but added Christian McCaffrey, the
Oh, yeah, I hate the
49ers.
Niners. Yeah, I hate them.
I think the 49ers are right there. Obviously, no one believes in the Vikings are going to do it again, but yeah, or Detroit just not there. I'm going to
I
say the
like
40.
Seattle.
You like who? See,
I'm high on Seattle.
I can see that. The only thing I would worry about now is because I think they're going to have a good defense. Tariq Woolen is hurt now, right? And I really like him. Seattle would be an interesting pick. Yeah, I would go with 49ers.
And then AFC, if I'm not taking the Chiefs, Bengals could be the team. I think everybody wrote off the Bills way too early. I still like the Bills.
I do too. I would like to see the Bills do well. I would like, yeah. I mean, I just, grew up in the 90s and, seeing them lose 4 straight. I would like to see them do well. Joe Burrow has it. I think Cincinnati's going to get back though. Yeah. So I'm going Cincinnati versus the 49ers. Joe Montana is going to come in and throw the coin, do the coin toss. So, and I think the Bengals are going to win it.
Question number 2. Are we positive vibes? I don't even like that word vibes, but are we feeling good? Where are you with Arlington Park?
I love it. Really?
I
mean, I'm grew up in Iowa, so I'm not, from the Chicago area, right? I mean, and obviously I live in Wisconsin now. But anything that's going to add, to the surrounding area, add, revenue to the team to help it grow. I love that fact. I've been actually last season was the first time I've been to Soldier Field, and I went twice last year, Texans game and the Dolphins game, and it was a good experience. But it's just it really is a dump. I mean, it
is a dump,
and so you need to have a state-of-the-art facility and area. And I just think I'm excited for the possibility. I like, what they really have done with Wrigleyville, with the Cubs and everything. And so actually I'm going there on Monday, taking my kids there. But so I think just making it modern and just kind of making a whole entertainment district, I love it. So
this bums me out when I like when stadiums are right downtown.
Yeah, but
or right in the city.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously something with, Wrigley being right there, but parking sucks. I go to, I almost call it Miller Park. I go to American Family Field, regularly, and it's just easier to get in and out. It's just a better all around experience than trying to, park, on a side street or a super expensive, lot or whatever, in Chicago.
Yeah, and Arlington Park's closer to you probably, so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last scenario for you. Let's say the Packers and the Jets were working on a Rodgers deal, and they just couldn't get it done. And that means Rodgers is going to play in the North again, and he, as he said, when he said, "I own you to the Bears," there was no taunting in history that was as much like, yeah, I mean, we can't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do a single thing. If the Jets and Packers couldn't work out a deal, and then they said, the only way this gets done is if the Bears give up a pick to the Packers to make it happen. What's the highest pick you would have gone to get Rodgers out of the division? All you get is Rodgers out of the division.
Oh,
you get nothing back. I said that every team in the North should have chipped in a 5th round pick.
I don't know.
Get him out of here.
Maybe a 6th or 7th round pick. I'm not really scared of Rodgers in Green Bay. And, even if he would have come back this year, I just think the whole drama and everything, I just think he draws it out. And like I hear a lot of Packer fans saying, "Oh, look, Jordan Love, he's throwing with his receivers." Like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to build that. And he wanted to do things his own way. So I just don't think it might have been another 8, 9, 10 win team. But I just didn't see it being like a Super Bowl team. So yeah, it is nice to not have Rodgers in the division. Absolutely.
I might be happier than you are. I'm tired.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I could, yeah, because it's same thing over and over again. Is he going to? Is it? I just thought it was hilarious that he said that he went in. It was so funny because I feel like so many Packer fans were still defending him. And he threw the whole team and organization under the bus, in a nice way. He just kept, well, I was 90% sure I was going to be retired when I went in, and then I came out and they didn't want me. So now I'm going to play. Like, no, come on. Just, yeah.
I don't know. I've retired from saying bad things about Rodgers because I've said it all. But then when I see like LeBron do this thing now, it's like, can these guys just retire? I know it's hard and you don't know, but we don't need to be. Every superstar's career doesn't need to be tainted by 3 or 4 years of God, gee shucks, I don't know. That bothers me.
Well, yeah, and you did that with Favre as well. I mean,
God.
I lived in Minnesota in Mankato those Favre years, and so I remember being excited about training camp. Even as a Bears fan, I went there, and it was right up the road from where I worked, and everybody knew in town that Favre wasn't going to come. He was like, they knew he was going to play, but knew he wasn't going to come and sleep in the dorms there in Mankato, and just. But it was the same thing over and over again. It seems it's so crazy that this has happened with Rodgers as well. But I mean, obviously, you're thankful that you have had like a winning record. One of the best quarterbacks of all time. I'll admit that. I mean, as a Bears fan, I couldn't say anything about the "we own you." But yeah. And to your point from like early on in the show, you talked about transfer ownership. I mean, that is just. Anytime I hear someone say that, I just, I stop listening to, because it's like, okay, let's talk about football and not, that stuff.
Thank you for your time. NFL Outdated. Check it out on YouTube. How much are you like busting your hump over there?
Hey, so once a week I do the NFC Freezing 4 podcast, podcast. And then I also, this time of year, I try to interview podcasters from all different teams. I did Eagles and Jets this past weekend, and done Giants, 49ers, all that stuff. So I try to, for me, it helps my fantasy football perspective, and then just knowing teams. So hey, that's all I say. Anybody I need to pick up on my dynasty team, that helps me.
We're trying to mobilize the listeners of this show. So NFL Outdated, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitter, because we're trying to do a Bart bump, and it's like every time people come on, it's like 2 or 3 new followers. But we're trying. We're actually trying.
I'll take it.
We're trying. Thank you, man. Have a great season, but not too good of one.
You too. Thanks again.